So recall from the earlier example, my earlier video, we were working on this particular example, and we were able to complete the 3 parts, and now I'm completing the next 2 parts. We have to identify the potential outliers, and we have to construct and interpret the box plot. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to make a initial box plot, right? And in order to make a box plot, you remember we have to have a 5-number summary, which is already there from the previous example. If you don't know from where I get this value, please look at my previous video in which I have explained how I get this 5-number summary. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make an initial box plot for this one, just to give you some idea, just to move the discussion forward. So let's make a box plot. We have, let me draw a line here. Okay, this is my minimum value is 1. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is 12. So on. And now what I'm going to do, the first step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to construct a box. That's the step we're going to do now. We have to construct a box that starts from Q1, which is 4, and it goes all the way up to Q3, which is 12. That's the step. We have to construct a box that goes all the way from Q1 up to Q3. And what we do, we draw a line, a vertical line at the position of the Q2, which is the median of the entire data set. This is our Q2 was 7, so at the position of the 7 I have drawn a vertical line. This is Q2, the median of my entire data set. The next step is to draw the whiskers, right? Whiskers. How we draw the whiskers? We extend the boundary walls of this box plot. I will extend this, the boundary wall of this box to a minimum value. My minimum value was 1, and I will extend this outer wall, the other wall, to the maximum value, and that maximum value was something like 55. I won't be able to show on my graph, but it was somewhere here. Let's suppose for the sake of discussion, this is 55. This type of a plot, this is the plot which we call it as a box plot. This is our initial box plot. Honestly, if I write an initial box plot, that will be a more appropriate initial box plot. I will talk about why I'm saying it's an initial box plot. But now let's move to the discussion of an outlier, right? Now remember, outlier is a value which is way ahead or way below as compared to the rest of the data values. Just look at these values. Just look at these values clearly. Clearly, this 55 seems to be a value which is way ahead as compared to the rest of the data values. It's even clearly visible by just looking at the data. This seems to be an outlier. This seems to be an outlier, right? So what we are going to do now, we are going to develop a method by which we are going to detect if it's really a potential outlier or not. For this purpose, we need to define 2 limits. So what we are going to do now, we are going to define a criterion by which we can decide if a certain value is an outlier or not. For this purpose, we need to define the 2 limits. For this purpose, what we need to define, we need to define 2 limits. One is called the lower limit. So we need to define lower limit here. Lower limit. And what is the formula for this lower limit? It is always equal to Q1 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range. And then I need to define the upper limit. The upper limit. And what upper limit equals to? It has a formula, Q3 plus 1.5 times IQR. That's the formula to find the lower limit and the upper limit. I will compute these two one by one. Q3 was equal to 4 minus 1.5 times the IQR was 8. If you don't remember that, please look at my previous video. So this is equal to 4 minus 12, and that is equal to 8, minus 8. And now I'm going to compute the upper limit. Q3 is 12 plus 1.5 times the 8, and that is equal to 12 plus 12. This is equal to 24. So my lower limit, LL stands for the lower limit. For the sake of convenience, I'm writing this one. And my UP, that's for the upper limit, UL, sorry, it's a 24. Now once we have obtained these two limits, we have to look our data. Let's just look at our data set. And now just see if there is any value which is below minus 8. You will see this data set, there is no value which is below minus 8. And look at, see if there is any value which is above 24, and you will find that 55 is the only value which is above 24, right? 55 is the only value which is above 24. It means there is an outlier, and 55 is our potential outlier. There is no outlier at the lower end. There is no outlier here, but there is an outlier here. Okay, so this is an outlier. 55 is an outlier. We have detected this outlier, and this the concept of lower limit and upper limit help us in identifying. So you will say as 55 is greater than 24, it implies that 55 is a potential outlier. Okay, if 55 is an outlier, then where is the maximum value now? What will happen to this box plot? We are going to reconstruct this box plot, and such a box plot which is constructed after taking into consideration of an outlier, such a box plot is called a modified box plot. So you will see that now this 23 will become our maximum value, because 50 this will be now our maximum value. Now in a modified situation, in a modified box plot, this will be maximum value and 55 will be an outlier. So we are going to construct a new box plot, right? Let me construct a new box plot, and here is the box plot. This is 1, 4, 7, 12, 23, right? So again the same thing, same idea, similar stuff. We are going to construct a box starting from the Q1, and that goes all the way up to Q3, right? That's the step for the constructing the box. Then we are going to construct a line exactly at the position of Q2. Remember, this is Q1, this is Q2, and this is Q3, right? And what we have done now, we are going to extend the walls. Let's extend the wall. We're going to extend this wall up to a minimum value, right? Our minimum value is 1, and there is no outlier at the lower end of it. And now we're going to extend this right wall to our maximum value, the value which is not an outlier. So this is, I'm going to extend this wall up to here, and I'm going to stop here. And now how I'm going to display where is my outlier. My outlier will be here, somewhere here. Let me extend this one. My outlier will be somewhere here, and I will represent this value by a star. I hope my star is good enough. and this is 55, just for the sake of discussion. So that's how we represent an outlier. Remember, in a box plot, in a modified box plot situation, we represent the outlier by an asterisk. So now my maximum value is not a 55, but now my maximum value is 23. Such a box plot which take into consideration of an outlier is called a modified box plot. Modified box plot. I hope you understand that. So this is the box plot which is called a modified box plot. Now you might be wondering that this is how we make the box plot or modified box plot by hand calculation. But you can also do the same stuff by using technology. And we are going to use Microsoft Excel for this purpose. Let's see how we can do this Microsoft Excel. I already entered these values in this Microsoft Excel. I already entered these values, and now I'm going to show you how to make a modified box plot. Okay, what we are going to do, we're going to go to the insert, look at this insert menu, and then I'm going to go to this portion, the charts, and I'm going to click this is histogram. Look at the histogram. You click on this one and you come to box and a whisker plot. You click here, and this is the box and a whisker plot. This is the box and a whisker plot, right? So, but remember, these are odd number of observation. These are odd number of observation. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to show labels here. So I'm going to click on this plus sign, and I'm going to show you data labels. Once we have a data labels, right? And I'm going to get rid of this, what do you call it as, the title. And now I get the data labels. But you might be wondering, look at this. My values are, this 12.5 is not my third quartile. So this is the minimum value. This is the first quartile. This is the second quartile. This is the third quartile. This is the maximum value. And look at how the outlier is mentioned here as a separate value. It's plotted like in separate value, right? It's a separate value. So what I'm going to do, but still there is one step needs to be done, and is I have to make sure that the Excel is taking care of the fact that I'm computing the median by including the median in both the halves. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click this blue area and I say format data series. And now the Excel is asking me what method you want to include. Do you want to include, do you want to exclude median in your computation, or do you want to include the median? I say please include the median. I click on this one, and now you look at that. It changes to my first quartile, my minimum value is 1, the first quartile Q1 is 4, the second quartile, which is Q2, is 7, and the third quartile is 12, the maximum value is 23, and this 55 is an outlier. This 55 is an outlier. So my dear student, had I shown you the technique this first, you would have said, oh, we are done. We don't need any computation. So actually, honestly speaking, you don't require any computation, a hand computation. Just insert the data in Microsoft Excel and create a box plot. The box plot will give you all the values you're looking for. You don't need any hand computation, but first I showed you how to do the hand computation so that you get an idea, what I'm talking about, right? You get an idea what I'm talking about. So that's how you make a box plot, and rather a modified box plot. But remember, it's very important. I have seen the student making this mistake a lot. They don't take into consideration of the fact whether the Microsoft Excel is including the median or excluding the median. If the number of observations are odd, you always include the median in both the half. If the number of observations are even, we do not include the median in any of the half. I hope you understand this video. If you have any question, please write me an email. Thanks for watching.